Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Nice to have a few horns honking out here. Um, it is so great to be back home in Guelph after a week traveling around the province. Before I begin this morning, I just want to acknowledge that we're on meeting on the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and I want to reaffirm the Ontario Green Party's commitment to the truth and reconciliation process. I'd also like to welcome Ontario Green's candidate for Kitchener Centre, Wayne Mack, to Guelph today. The announcement that we're going to make this morning, I definitely wanted to do this announcement in Guelph because I've spent so much of the last decade serving meals at the drop-in center pre-pandemic and at the Royal City Mission during the pandemic. I've really valued the time I've spent at Hope House helping serve people in our community who are the most disadvantaged. And I can tell you, especially throughout the pandemic, I've had the opportunity to meet with so many individuals who are on social assistance, barely struggling to get by. It's unacceptable in this province that we force people with disabilities to live in legislated poverty. I want to tell you one story about a woman who reached out to me primarily because she was worried about getting support for her child with autism. And in the course of our conversation, it was the kind of conversation I've had over and over again with people. She started to break down and she said, Mike, I love my job. My work meant so much to me. And when I came down with a chronic illness and could no longer do the work I love and had to go on to Ontario Disability Support, I've literally had to almost liquidate my entire life. We have so many days where I don't know how we put food on the table, and my children deserve better. She wasn't even worried about herself. She was worried about her children. And I've had so many stories like this over and over again. And we know from Feed Ontario that especially during the pandemic, food bank use has gone up over 32%. And many of those individuals are on Ontario Disability Supports and Ontario Works. I know the people of Ontario are better than this because I know we care about our neighbors. We care about the people who live in our communities, and we want to build a caring society. That's why today I want to formally announce the Ontario Green Party's commitment to doubling social assistance rates immediately. Right now, somebody on disability supports survives on $1,100 a month. Doubling those supports would, at the very least, raise them to the low income cutoff level. During the pandemic, the federal government brought in the CERB, and we determined that it took somebody at least $2,000 a month to get by. And so why are we forcing people on disability supports to live on $1,100 and Ontario Works $731? In addition to doubling the rates, we will index them to inflation so that people can live with dignity. We will also triple the exemption level before clawbacks start on people's earnings. A lot of Ontarians don't realize this. If somebody is on social assistance and they earn more than $200 a month in supplementary income, their benefits start to claw back. We would raise that to $600 a month. And this for us is the first step toward working with the federal government to bring in a basic income. And I want to issue a challenge to the other parties running in this election to do better for people living in poverty. You know, the fact that the NDP and Liberals have put forward plans to raise social assistance rates by 20%. And even Doug Ford, my gosh, we even pushed Doug Ford to amend their budget, or essentially their platform, and commit to raising social assistance rates by 5%. But all of those increases still mean that people on disability support are living at a lower monthly benefit than they received when Mike Harris left office in the early 2000s. It's unacceptable. We're better than this, Ontario. And so we are asking the wealthiest in our province to pay a bit more so that the most vulnerable in our province no longer live in legislative poverty. And not only will it improve their lives, it'll improve the lives of all Ontarians. According to Feed Ontario's 2019 study, poverty costs this province $33 billion a year. And that was pre-pandemic. Be interesting to see how the pandemic is likely raised those costs to our province. So let's do the right thing. Let's make the investments in building a caring Ontario, because I know that's the Ontario people want. And that's the leadership the Ontario Greens are bringing to this campaign. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And I just want to say to all the folks who came out sign waving with me this morning, and the people who are here today, who I know share my passion and commitment to eliminating poverty in Ontario. I want to thank you for the work that you do and the support that you provide me here in Guelph. And so we will continue to push to build the caring Ontario that I know all of us want, and to do everything we can to eliminate poverty in this province. Thank you.